are watching CIOTV by Enterprise IT World, a production of Accent Infomedia.
It's working now. Okay. So first of all, thank you Accent Infomedia for having this event, first time in Bangalore. I hope you have many more such events as such. And thank you for the opportunity to present some of the thoughts that I have here. So, I mean, it's a time of AI, and I think if you want to talk about anything, if you're not talking about AI, I think it's not really in sync with times as such. Mr. Rishi, if he's there, so all the neuroplasticity and all that, these are really good concepts, and all of us should know about it. And there's, although, yeah, I mean, he talked about neurosurgeon and all that, it looks like very high tech, etc. But these are very, once you start, you will realize that it's not really that complex topic as such. So where are we in this AI world now? It's really almost like an arms race, right? It's $200 billion is the investment, 50% higher than what it was earlier. Recently, AWS has announced $10 billion per annum for the next 10 years in AI. So that's the kind of investment you are seeing, and it's really a frenzy, and everybody wants to invest as such. There are these top big four, of course, Microsoft, AWS, Google, and of course Facebook, Meta. They're trying to invest, and of course there are a whole lot of startups, and if you see even any of the startup world, all the investments are really going into AI as such. Multimodal, you all saw it, and I think I need not talk about it. Everybody knows about it. Everybody got impressed and all that, all the nice things. But also it's becoming faster and cheaper. And the 4.0 model is 6 times cheaper than the earlier, the 4 model which was there. Right? So you'll see that while these are becoming much better models as such, they are also becoming cheaper. And it kind of almost kind of a Moore's law. I'm sure that some kind of that will take place in the AI world as such. There are a lot of course, emerging part. Of course, LLM really shook or break the jinx of AI winter. But there are so many other things that are coming up, whether it is collaboration and agent with, of course, especially with the small language models. How do you have agents working together to solve complex problems? Because I know that all of us would have tried, and I hope you use the LLMs and every day as such. But you will find that if it's a complex problem, they really don't do well, right? And even if, let's say, if I want to say that what are the latest things happening on any particular topic, so it will immediately start answering. But if you want to really do a deep research, it won't really do. And that's where I think the concept of agents working together in a specialized way, that's something coming up. Type 2 thinking of Daniel Kahneman talked about it. The type 1 is, immediate versus type 2 requires a deliberate thinking. And if you see now, most of the LLMs are really in type 1, in the sense there is no deliberate thinking. Immediately, the moment you ask question, the answer will start viewing it. But there is no real thinking as such behind it. AGI, and also, of course, the whole AI is also coming into the physical world in terms of robots, and there is a convergence of these technologies, and you will see much more exciting things here as such. But while this is happening, the adoption itself is much more slower than what it was expected. Even, for example, AWS had or Amazon had announced Alexa to be rolled out, but now they have deferred the plan as such. And there are a lot of POCs happening, and of course the go lives are also happening as we see as Infosys itself. That's a good thing. So flow of the presentation, 2 parts. One is what are the opportunities, and secondly, what I see as things that we should watch out for. Okay. So the first part of opportunities, of course, transformation. So it started with the cloud, then mobility, and now AI. And while we are still trying to figure out the tech debt that is created by these 2 transformations, now we already have into third. I mean, that's our life as such, as IT professional. I think, anyway, that's what it is. But of course, this AI transformation is much different and much all pervasive as such. That, of course, I don't have to tell you, and you guys all know about it. And while there are these 4 things that I'm going to talk about, how it's possible to use AI to completely reimagine whether it is your products and services, whether it's a customer experience, employee experience, productivity, and of course the whole processes. And of course, it's the reimagination of enterprises is happening, but as you all can sense that it's really going to really reimagine the industries, the economies, and the worlds and world itself and nations itself as such. So when you see the opportunities, and if you want to really put it into 4 quadrants, as generally all management guys want to do it, and if you say y-axis is whether external to internal, and on the x-axis you put it day-to-day incremental changes as such versus a transformation, game changer as such, you'll find that the real, if you say ROI, real needle mover are on the right-hand side, and those are really AI-enhanced products and services, core capabilities, whether core supply chain, core operations, core R&D. And this is where the ROI is going to be. And there have been always conversations about how do I create a business case. And if you want to really create a business case or get everybody excited, then the right side are your use cases that you should do. Of course, but at the same time, you see that most of the 77%, that's as per Gartner, use cases are on the left-hand side, and these are basically either front office, sales, back office automation, and so on, as such. But no surprises there, but because these are easier, low-hanging fruits, etc. But the impact really is on the right-hand side. So what are the options? Of course, there is this classical AI, which all of us know, which are predictive modeling, optimization, simulation, and NLP, OCR, all those technologies, which are of course there and which are very much core to what we do, while the LLMs have kind of taken the limelight, but these are core technologies which you should not forget. And in my mind, the combination of this core AI or the classical AI in combination with the SLMs or the small language models is what is really going to be the future as such. While the LLMs are going to be general purpose, and they're going to go into the AGI kind of a place, versus these are from a corporates and all that point of view. I think this combination of these two technologies are what really going to help us move and the needle and help solve all the kind of problems that we are faced with. Of course, the SLMs are 5 to Llama family itself is from 7 to 70 billion, while the LLMs are in trillions at 1.7 trillion and the likes as such. So if you talk about reimagining core products and services, of course the pharma industry is way ahead of it, and they have been there even before this. And with the AlphaFold, in case you guys are aware of it, basically it is about, in pharma, for any drug discovery, etc., is about understanding the protein structure. And to find the protein structure, it is a PhD program, right? You spend 4 years and you create one protein structure and you get a PhD, that kind of a thing. Versus Alpha of the DeepMind, they have kind of used AI to create this, and they have open sourced all these models, and there are really millions of proteins. And as you know, proteins are really all our, everything around in our bodies are really millions of proteins interacting with each other as such. And within that actually is also about the fold. And if you, of course, COVID would have reminded you of, the spiked protein and also the cleavage. The cleavage is what is really allowing them to, latch onto the cell body and then really get into the cell body as such. So that's something that's already happening, and there are so many other companies which are now helping in R&D as such. So I think the pharma industry has taken lead on this. Core operations, of course, robotics and all that we know, Teslas, BMWs, of course there are other, also again pharma trying to do it on clinical trials as such. Core products, Microsoft, you'll say Copilot everywhere. There, I think as of last count I had, there were some 80 Copilots as such. And of course Google is trying to do it as such. And it's only a matter of time. I think it's be that there won't be any product which won't say that we have a AI as such into it. John Deere, again, were doing in agriculture for quite some time. Core services, of course, Infosys is doing, whether it is transition management. Transition is basically taking over from, the client organization. We try to now do the complete lift and shift of IT. So how do you do the transition management? Code migration. Code migration is legacy to newer technologies as such. How do you use those Gen AI to do that? And of course support as such BPM services as such. So these on the core product services and R&D. We see from the reimagining customer experience, and Rishi talked about empathy and all that. But if you see among all the things, this is really an area which has a lot of potential, but I have not seen many examples of things which are already in live. As I already talked about, Amazon wanted to roll out, I think Alexa they would have already rolled out, but they realized that I think hallucination and all other challenges are there, and I don't think customers would want an AI, especially with now when your credibility etc. at stake, you don't want to really be first one to do something like that. But just think about it, the whole reimagining that is possible. Today, if you want to buy, of course, you figure out, you go to Amazon or whatever is your favorite website, you try to put in the keywords and you really have to struggle if you're trying to find something very, very particular as such. Doesn't matter whether it is dresses or whether any other product, especially the high involvement product. And that's where it's possible to have a customer service agent, or it's almost like a personalized agent who knows your shopping history. He knows whether what kind of, there was an advertisement some time back, Mera wala ping kind of a thing, right? So something, I mean, it actually shows my age when I talk about it. And anybody knows about this Mera wala ping advertisement? Nobody knows, right? So it shows my age. So it is, whatever your choices are, whatever the style you like, etc. The agent can understand much better and remember your choices and then guide you towards your shopping. That's a possibility, and of course, much better empathy as such, because even if you call a service a customer service number and they are really nice, but this guy really doesn't matter, right? What time of the day, and doesn't matter whether you have a bad day as a customer service executive. This guy is going to be nice, or girl has to be nice to you. Most likely it will be girl. Okay, so sorry about that gender bias, but that's how things are. And customer, of course, there are rich media integrations which are already there. Insurance companies saying that, okay, you just take a picture in case you have an unfortunate accident. You put it, and just based on that, they are able to give and go ahead to the garage to start the work as such. After a while, a human being will really do a complete assessment as such. But they are able to give an initial go ahead as such. This is on the customer experience, but as I said, actually there is a lot of opportunity, but at this point in time, we haven't seen anything like that. But it's a matter of time. It's when somebody starts, then everybody else has to really do a catch up. Employee experience, productivity. Yes, of course, various tools over a period of time have helped employees improve their productivity, whether it was Excel in the beginning or Excel, or before that there was Lotus 123 as such. So various things, again, when I talk about such tools and somebody nods my head, I know that, okay, they are of my age group as such, right? So, and of course RPS were there, but I think from real productivity improvement for white collar workers is what LLMs and AIs are able to do it now. And not just that, I think the real opportunity is to, and also from an enterprise point of view also, how do you give the data and the agent or whatever you want to call it, co-pilot or whatever assistant you want to call it, can have an access to complete data point and can recommend an action to you, ensuring that that by whatever biases, etc. you have, whatever recency effect and all that other thing, it can take care of it. It can also help you in having a crucial conversation. If, let's say, a difficult conversation you want to have with any employee, right? And you want a third person perspective. You're not really going to call your coach, or if you have one, very few people have it. I don't have it. Or a mentor, in case again the mentor may be busy and so on, so right, versus this guy is there and you can just ask him saying that, okay, I'm having this conversation, what do I do? Right? At least it will say, boss, take few deep breaths and also various other things to give you other ideas to, much better empathetic towards the conversation that you're having. Potential for automation, I have this term called as 595 to 95.5. Most of our processes are, the first digit really talks about the tech part, and the second digit talks about the first digit talked about the tech, and the second is the human being. So today, most of the in legacy organization versus a startup will have, everything automated. They will have 95/5. That is, most of it tech, very few human beings as such. Versus a legacy will have, mostly human beings doing it job, and there is an opportunity to do it as such. And this was from McKinsey, which they tried to say which are possible and all that. But I think it's much more. The things have changed as of now. So while these are all good and great opportunities, so what are the watch out areas? And these are some of the few which I have tried to put it. Doesn't matter whether it was cloud, whether it was mobility or any other transformation, you need a strong sponsor. And it's also an opportunity for us to take leadership, because it's possible that you have, like, for example, we are fortunate, so Nandan is there, and Nandan he already knows about, and maybe most of the time he guides us what we should do, rather than trying to tell him. Of course, we still try to do once in a while, but mostly he has ideas around what can be done and should be done. But in case you are not so fortunate, then it's also an opportunity for you to take that leadership and build that business case, saying that this is what we can do for the company as such, right? But for doing anything like that, a strong sponsorship is required. ROI, of course, remains important. And ROI in this case becomes even more important, because once you get into the, in case you have not done it, you will realize that there is a lot of experimentation. You will find that which model to choose. There are so many options available, and each has a different commercial impact of using it, right? So there's a lot of experimentation, and you will say, okay, this, if you go to Hugging Face, you will find that there are really thousands of models that are available. So trying to zero in and then experiment, and you may say, okay, I started with OpenAI, for example, or Gemini Pro Plus, but later on you find that, okay, it's too much costly, and I really don't know, I don't need it. So you're trying to find a smaller model. So a lot of effort, lot of experimentation goes into it, which you may not have figured out. So hence, important to find, get the ROI cases which are on the right hand side, which I talked about earlier. If you have that, then definitely whichever model you choose, most likely you will get on ROI. Compute resources, getting now this, if you are in the on-prem kind of a model, because SLM, etc., you would like to deploy it on-prem, because then the cost will be much better, much lower. But getting those NVIDIA chips, etc., is a problem, right? And we were fortunate because we had placed, those orders in the earlier part, so we could get those. But in case now it's becoming increasingly difficult as such. There are of course skill gaps, and these are hot skills. But at the same time, I think compared to the classical AI, which requires high hardcore statistical skills, etc., versus these skill sets are in a way are easier to learn, right? With RAG and the vector database, RLHF, and etc. I think it's easier to learn compared to the classical AI. Of course, ethical issues and RAI, responsible AI, is something that you should start out in the beginning itself and not really do it as an afterthought. So I think the biggest challenge, however, is going to be rigidity to the change. And earlier I had named this slide as organization change management, but I know this term really, even for a small upgrade, we use this term, saying, okay, I'm trying to do OCM as a change management. But versus this is something very, very different animal. This is a completely different animal. Because 44%, this is Gartner study actually, 44% people feel that they're going to lose the job because of AI. So anything you try to do, they think that there is directly threat to them, and there is a resistance to it. So how do we go about it? So we tried something and it has worked, but this is really work in progress. And you have to really figure out how do you, when you try to say you're not going to do this, let the AI do it. Of course, there aren't really 100%, and even in my slide I said 95/5, right? Still there is 5% human being. How do you redefine the role? So from doers to enabler, and to architects to solution executive, right? You really have to be creative not in a negative way, but also trying to say how do we redefine the work? Because if AI is going to do the grunt work, then what exactly the human being is going to do? And of course, empathy, human connect, counseling, coaching, all those kind of things are really are are the jobs that humans should do. Also very important to say what people should stop doing while they should start doing in the new roles. I think that this I think is going to be the biggest hurdle, and companies who can manage this are going to be real winners. And so, while there is this technology, vision, all the other nice things which I talked about, but I think this is going to really determine whether you're going to succeed or not. Also from even when you say you want to deploy AI, and this, I'm not talking about all the high-tech stuff which Rishi talked about, but in general in enterprise, wherever you find high automation, high maturity of the process, those are the cases where you can look at AI, versus wherever there is an ambiguity, etc., you can still say, AI is going to help you in whichever form. In between, actually, it can just say, it can recommend the decision but not take it. On the right hand side, as you move towards the right hand side, it can take a decision. On the left hand side, it may be just provide you data or support, etc., for us to take a decision. So that's all I had, and these are various references, and I'm going to be here for some time, so in case you have any questions or wanted to have any discussion, we'll be happy. I don't know whether we can take any questions, but if you have any questions, we'll be happy to take. So by the way, I just did it on time. Okay, thank you. Thank you.